Welcome to Two Guys on My Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Thompson. I just wanted to take a moment today, while it's still fresh in my mind, to do a little recap on what my thoughts were on the two debates, the debate between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. You know, on the onset, we were all expecting a pretty bad night for Tim Walz. You know, he's not very tested, although he is a two-time governor. But we really haven't seen him. We don't know what he looked like under pressure. We don't know, how he would respond. Well, primarily because he hasn't been out there. But there he was. And I have to say, I was surprised. I think he did look nervous. I think that he did, search for his words at first and did some misspeaks, but overall, I think he came across as a genuinely folksy Midwesterner. But I do think J.D. Vance absolutely dominated the debate. I think that he was factual. He was in command of the issues. He knew what he was talking about. He knew what he wanted to say. He defended very eloquently the policies of Donald Trump. I think that Tim Walz struggled with that with Kamala Harris. I think he, unfortunately, doesn't know what his own VP role is going to be. I don't think he knows where Kamala stands on a lot of the issues. Everything he said was very rehearsed, very structured. But overall, the debate itself, I have to say, even if you're not a political person and haven't been following politics a lot, I have to say the debate itself was really nice. It was refreshing. There was, congeniality between the two debaters, I guess you want to call them, between Tim Walz and J.D. Vance. I think they were both very polite to each other, but they did go after each other, which is what is expected in a debate. So it was nice to see the mutual respect these two had for each other. I've been watching politics now since I was in high school, which is almost 35 years ago, and I have to say it was probably one of the best debates I've seen. I'm used to Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush debate, and that kind of mutual respect between candidates, and it's been downhill ever since. But I was impressed. I thought both candidates did all right. I thought both came across the way they were supposed to. I think the pressure was on J.D. Vance. Absolutely. The media set him up to be this weird, wacko, hardliner, rigid, cold person. And he was not. I think anybody who went in there thinking J.D. Vance was not what he was shown to be, I think came out of that really surprised. He came across passionate, compassionate, family man, loves his wife and kids, cares about the American people in the country. I think that is genuine, and I don't say that Tim Walz, didn't or doesn't feel that way, but that's not the way they portrayed J.D. Vance, and I think that he, put a lot of his detractors back in their place, including the moderators. I think both moderators showed again they're biased to the point where J.D. Vance had to correct them for breaking their own rules, and I thought that was probably the high point. I'm so sick of the media pushing their agenda and saying that they are moderates not moderates, but that they are impartial. So lies, such a bunch of lies. I'm so sick of it. But I was glad to see that J.D. Vance was able to push that back in a polite, concise manner. Say what you want about Donald Trump. We all know what Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is a bull in a china shop. It is what it is. And I think if I was being attacked 24/7 for things that aren't true, I think I would probably be very bullish in a china shop. But J.D. Vance was able to take take the persona that is Donald Trump, round it out, take all the edges off, take all the barbs, but present Donald Trump in the J.D. Vance manner. I think what you saw there was a polished man that had all of Trump's ideas and really was the torchbearer for his boss. And in Tim Walz, you saw a folksy, a very, I want to say unmasculine man. He doesn't come across as a very masculine man, but a guy, Midwest guy, who was trying to prop up his boss, and I'm really having a hard time with giving him any accolades. I just wasn't impressed. I mean, J.D. Vance just came out of the park swinging, came out of the cage swinging, and I think Tim Walz just did what Tim Walz does, act like an idiot. He was a goofball. Calling himself a knucklehead. Yeah, I know, okay, mea culpa, but admit you made a mistake. Admit you lied about being at Tiananmen Square when you weren't. Admit that you lied about your military record. Admit that you lied. Admit your mistakes. The one thing that we all know is that Americans are forgiving and very forgetful. We don't remember history at all. But we are forgiving. And admit your mistakes and move on. But that's not something that he does, or that he did. And I think that was his big mistake. I think J.D. Vance did miss the mark a little bit on the women's reproductive rights, kind of explaining where the Republicans stand on the Roe v. Wade issue. My take is I'm a huge states' rights issue. I don't like big government. So the further away you take decisions from the voter, the less control the voter has in it. And that's what Roe v. Wade did, is it took it away from the federal control and put it into the state's control. Yeah, are there going to be anecdotal evidence that may not work? Sure. But for the majority of the cases, it works better. Yeah, you're going to have this person that didn't get proper treatment. You're going to have this person that got a late-term abortion. It is what it is. Democracy isn't supposed to be clean. It's not. There are going to be pros and cons. But as soon as you bring it closer to the voter, the more control the people have of the issue. And that's what the reversal of Roe v. Wade did. It took the control over abortion. And it's not women's reproductive rights, it's abortion. Call it what it is. You Democrats can't even describe what a woman is, and you're going to call it women's rights and women's reproductive rights. You have no freaking clue what a woman is, and yet you're going to call it that. So quit. You can't play both sides of the same fiddle here, or both sides of the same aisle. It is what it is. So what it did is it said the federal government has no control over this. The state is going to mandate and put rules on abortions. And that's what it is. It's abortion rules. In New York, nothing changed with the repeal of Roe v. Wade. Nothing at all. Yes, in states like Alabama, maybe Tennessee, Kentucky, that are much more conservative, there might be, more challenges to having abortions. It is. Well, what did Ronald Reagan say way back when? If you don't like what your state does, either vote the people in that are going to do what you want, or vote with your feet and move out and go to a state that is more aligned with the way you feel. It's really that simple. There's no ambiguity about it. You have the ultimate say. And at the end of the day, I think that that's the best way to govern. The closer you bring it to the people, the more control the people have over it. And that's what I think J.D. Vance missed when it came up to that part of the debate, is articulating the Donald Trump's as well as the Republican side of that particular issue. Is it took it out of the federal hands and put it in the state hands where it's closer to the people, and it more closely reflects the people of that state. You know, things that are allowed in California would never be allowed in Alabama. Things that are allowed in Texas would never be allowed in New York. It's the people that live there. Remember, we're a republic. We have strong states, which are essentially small little countries that are all under an umbrella of the United States. So when we were founded, we had strong individual countries under a uniting umbrella. That's what it was, the United States, and fighting for a common good. But each state was sovereign. They had their own rules. They had their own rights. They had their own taxation. They had their own governments. It wasn't an overarching federal government. That's what our founding fathers hated. That's what we went to. Our Revolutionary War was about taxation without representation. A strong federal, or in this case, the Crown of England. And that's something I think we miss. I don't know if it's not taught in school or people just don't want to see how that works. But be that as it may, I'm kind of meandering a little bit. But I do think that both sides didn't move the needle here or there. I think if you're a fan of Donald Trump, J.D. Vance really showed you what a polished Donald Trump would be like, is J.D. Vance. Tim Walz was Tim Walz. And, you got the same thing out of him as you'd get out of Kamala Harris. Nothing. Because she has not articulated anything, has not been on any talk show, has not been on any interviews, has done nothing to promote her ideas. Even when she goes on softball shows, she gives nothing. But be that as it may, that's what we got out of Tim Walz, was nothing. Leave comments below on what you guys think. I think overall it didn't move the needle. I think people are going to stay where they stay. The only thing I do have to say is if you were not going for Donald Trump because you were afraid of the unknown of a vice president, I think you got a really clear vision of what Donald Trump saw in J.D. Vance. Really bright guy, very knowledgeable man, good family values, and I think is very much pro-America. And I reflects my family values big time. I think if you tuned in to see Tim Walz, you got exactly what you thought Tim Walz was going to be. We saw that at the convention, some weird, goofy guy with funny faces. I'm trying to think. There's a Disney movie. Was it Disney or Pixar? It was a claymation guy, and he always had like a big puffy mouth. And oh God, I can't. That's who I think of. The guy had a dog. Oh, what the hell was his name? Well, anyway, like an English setting. But that's who it reminds me of. Some claymation guy with a big puffy face. But that's what Tim Walz did. He presented himself as that guy with a lot of rehearsed lines, a lot of rehearsed notes, and nothing to back much up. I mean, he lied several times. Perfect example. Go and read it yourself. It's right out there. Go and read the Minnesota's abortion law, and it does state right in there that the doctor can choose whether or not to give care to the baby of a botched abortion. That's right in the bill. J.D. Vance brought it up. Tim Walz says that's not true. Well, it's in the bill. It's right in there. The whole idea that He didn't understand supply and demand when it came to housing. And this is a problem. These people live in Never Never Land. They make up stupid rules. They say things that feel great, but there's no facts. If there's 100,000 homes and you have 100,000 Americans vying for those homes, there's going to be a certain price. You throw in another 30,000 people vying for the same homes, what's going to happen? The price is going to go up because of supply and demand. The fact that he could not articulate it, and the fact that the moderators could not articulate that. And it took J.D. Vance to tell them, look, housing prices and rent is expensive because there are too many people fighting for too few goods. The fact that they didn't understand that is a perfect example of why they're disqualified. You don't understand the system of money, of capitalism, of supply and demand. Yes, if there were more homes if there were more apartments than people needed, rents would go down. But that's not the case. You bring in unfettered illegal immigration, you're going to have too many people chasing too few things, which drives up the cost. It's simple as that. And the fact that Tim Walz could not articulate that and that the two moderators challenged J.D. Vance on that just goes to show you they don't understand it. So with that said in point, that case in point, that's a perfect example of what's wrong with the Democrat Party today. They don't get it. They just don't understand. And this idea, I made a TikTok about it yesterday. This idea that, sorry, my allergies are killing me. So this idea that, women, or not women, but the party wants to defend women's rights, and yet they can't come out and tell you what a woman is, I think is mind-blowing to me. They had I think it was, wasn't Kirk. What the hell is his name? I can't think what his name is. He's a conservative pundit, and he made a movie on describe me what a woman is. And they went to university campuses and college campuses. And one of the things he asks, are you a Republican or a Democrat, conservative, liberal, blah, 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 blah. And the next question was, can you define for me, what is a woman? Folks, it was incredible how many Democrats and liberals could not describe what a woman is. Pretty easy to me what a woman is. A woman is a beautiful, voluptuous female that can bear children and take care of a guy. Not just one way, but you know what I mean. And they know. It has to be how you feel and what you say and how you act and how you dress. No, if you're born with certain chromosomes, you're a woman. When you die and they exhume your body, your hips are a certain way because you're a woman. Are there manly women? Yes. Are there feminine men? Yes. But a man's a man and a woman's a woman. And the fact that that's the same party that believes in all that stuff about your feelings and makes no difference what your biology is. It's all in your head. It's the same one that's going to say, oh, reproductive rights. I got a big problem with that. But with that said, that was my take on the VP debate. We're going to have a podcast tonight and talk more about it. Mike will be here. Be fun. And we will see you then. Leave comments below. Please subscribe. Very important. And we'll talk to you later. We were great. We were free. Had a country that couldn't be beat. We were right.